Let's find out a bit more about Hisham Kheshen's latest book, Very Egyptian Tales, in this coming up report.
The book which we're going through encompasses a group of stories, and it's entitled Very Egyptian Tales, and it was written by Hisham Kheshen. He wrote them because they're real to the Egyptian life. It seems that the writer was affected by his job as an engineer, and it's also obvious that he traveled a lot because his tales are about the life of an engineer who travels from and to Egypt. I don't know why his tales remind me of the novels of the great novelist Ihsan Abdul Quddus, in spite of the clear differences between them. Most of Abdul Quddus's novels are about women, yet Kheshen's stories are always about men. The common point between them is the technique of the stories. Both writers focus on the hero of the story who rebels against the current situation, which the writer sees as incorrect. At the end, the hero fulfills his dream, which he has been dreaming of since his childhood. However, the story ends with the defeat of the hero. If you read Kheshen's stories, you'll see that they have the same technique. For example, we see an aristocrat who hates the rural system of his father and admires the aristocratic style of his mother. Yet he hates such a style of life, so he divorces his wife, who belongs to that aristocratic class, and marries a middle-class girl. Hisham Kheshen was born in Cairo in 1963. He graduated from the Faculty of Engineering in Cairo University. Driven by a desire to be professional, he got a master's degree in administration from the American University in Cairo in 1992. He then started his career whilst having a wish to develop all the projects, whether they were architectural or touristic. He conducted great projects that provided such development projects with life like power plants and hospitals.
I'm delighted to be joined today on Bookworm by the author of the new publication, Very Egyptian Tales, Hisham Kheshen. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us on today's episode of
Thank you for having me.
You yourself are a bookworm. I'm sure you've read plenty of books, and I'm sure they have developed your own interpretation as well as had an influence on your own book that you've recently published. So tell us a bit about your favorite readings.
Well, yes, I've always been an avid reader, and today I will share some of my preferred readings with you. This book is called Risk. It's a business, social, and psychological book, which tells us how we make decisions, what entices us to make a decision. It's one of my favorites because it also has a lot of case studies, and it relates a lot of happenings that happened in world business and actually beyond world business. Another book which I'm sure you've heard about is called Freakonomics. Freakonomics also now has a sequel, which is Super Freakonomics. The genius of this book is that it took economics to another dimension, because the interpretation Levitt and Dubner have made of economic cases is completely different and completely out of the box. So it's a book that you have to read with a very open mind. That is probably my favorite book in the world. It's by Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker is the father of modern marketing, and he's a guru in marketing. This particular book is actually not about marketing. It's called Adventures of a Bystander. It's his autobiography. I've also decided to share with you Stephen Hawking's book, which is The Universe in a Nutshell. A lot of people shy out when they hear about Stephen Hawking. They think his books are too scientific, but again, this is of course, he's very famous for A Brief History of Time, but this book and A Brief History of Time are very clever books in the sense that they take science to everyone. Arabic books.
Moving on to the Arabic. I can see a bit, most of your English readings are related to the world of economy and business and science. And I can see your first Arabic book, I Want to Get Married, Isaac Goes.
I don't want to get married, I'm already married. But
is there a difference with the language, what you read in English and Arabic?
There is. One basic difference is that you can't find these books in Arabic. I mean, if you can read the original in the English, so I don't need a translation. And you can't find this genre in Arabic. Nobody writes this quality of books in Arabic. So in Arabic, we're more into the literature. I Want to Get Married or Isaac Gawaz. I think it's going to be on Egyptian TV in Ramadan as a series.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a big hit. The book started as a blog by Ghada Abdel Al, and then she published it in a book which has since become a bestseller. I think it is a very deep book beyond. It's a very funny book, but there is a lot of depth because it deals with unmarried girls in our society. Another funny book is Bilal Fadl, which is called Injured Laughs. It's very sarcastic of our society and our general conditions. Very well written. He's a very good writer. And what I like about him is that he also writes very good Arabic. Arabic is a beautiful language to be enjoyed. So Bilal Fadl combines the sarcasm with writing good Arabic. My choices seem all to be funny books, but I read other books. This is a book called Chairs by Yusuf Maati, and again, I chose it because he had a very clever concept. In this book, chairs are talking. So a chair of a president of a company or a chair of an employee in the government, and they are saying their memoirs and what happens to them. A chair in a cafe, who sat on it and did what. It's a very, very new angle. I haven't seen that angle in either Arabic or English. Now, this is a book I highly recommend, which is A Quarter Gram, Roba Gram by Assam Youssef. And it's a journey into the world of drug addiction. I highly recommend it to all parents. It will give them insight on how to handle that problem, how to evade it in the first place. I highly recommend that parents actually have their kids read it, because while it starts as a fun book, because it's making you feel back in your teens, it takes you into a very scary trip of drug use and abuse. Now, just to add on the Arabic books, there are a couple of books that have really influenced me, but they are not here. One is not a book, but all the writings of Ihsan Abdul Quddus. I grew up reading that. They used to publish it every Sunday, one of his stories in Ahram, and I have been privileged for reading all his books, and I believe he's one of the best writers ever. And the other book would be Ala al-Aswani's Amarat Yaqubian or Yaqubian Building, which, although was made in a movie, I highly recommend people to read it. Indeed. The book is a lot better than the movie.
Now let's move on to Very Egyptian Tales, your book.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about your influence. Obviously, every author has their own individual influence on their writing. So tell us a bit about Hisham Kheshen as a person.
Well, I graduated from Civil Engineering Cairo University and started my professional career back in 1986 as an engineer. I graduated from the AUC with an MBA in 1991. I worked in construction and real estate until 2003. And it was quite a successful career, at which point I decided I had enough, where I moved into, the original intent was to move into marketing, and that became even narrowed down to sports marketing, where I own and operate a sports marketing company. And then came the book. I've always written well, I think, at least I thought so. And then I have never attempted literary writing, but this came to be. I wrote a group of short stories, showed it to quite a clever publisher, a renowned publisher, who decided that he wants to publish it.
Publish the book.
And there we are. The book was out in January. We're in the 3rd edition now.
Very good.
And we've made the bestseller list several times. So
that's excellent.
It's good.
Very good. So tell me a bit about what has influenced. Tell me a bit about the story.
Well, the stories. First of all, I really, and this is how we grew up. We grew up loving this country, and part, I think, of what we love about this country is the contradictions it gives you and it shows you. And There is nothing that is predictable about Egypt. There is always a turn somewhere. And that's the beauty of Egypt, and that's, I think, why we love it. It's a group of 19 stories.
And they're each individual? Or
Each is a short story on its own. Some of them are based on real stories or real characters, where I've taken the license to adjust. These are like 5 of the 19. The rest are a combination of, people you've met, and then you take your creative license and think what they would do in that situation, or how they would act, or stories you've heard, and you put them together.
I can see in your book there's it says "I love New York." It's a cap and a lock as well. Just explain a bit this.
Yeah, well, it's a cap, half tarbouche.
Okay.
And this symbolizes actually the state of mix-up that most of the Egyptians are. We love the Western ways, but we are also very tied to our traditional ways. And I believe that's the eternal struggle of the Egyptian character. So that's the half cap.
So we want to be modern and globalized,
exactly.
And at the same time keep our tradition.
As much as we can. Well, the lock is my call for keeping an open mind rather than being locked in our ways. And that's the basic premise of these stories. The stories, most of them at the end, are about acceptance and not being judgmental, because everybody has a reason for doing what they do. And I'm not saying or calling for acceptance of wrong, but sometimes you would see an action by somebody that I would like people to accept what they don't understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, one of the things I've used also in the book is that at the end of each story there's a quote, a famous quote by someone else, not mine.
Okay.
And in a way that would sum up my position on the story. When I wrote the stories, I tried to be neutral, so I wasn't giving direction where I stand when it comes to the story.
Okay.
But the quotation would then give you where I stand on that, or justify the acceptance again.
Acceptance. Okay, Hisham, tell us your favorite one out of the 19 and what it's about.
I'm going to have to give you a very classic answer. I love them all, but
the closest one to
that's a tough one. Well, the Orthodox is one of my favorite, and the plane. I think the discussion on the plane was very clever. It's a discussion between two people, and the Orthodox is very nice.
You mentioned the Orthodox
twice.
Why?
Because it relates very much to a problem we have, which is the religious problems that we face. And I think in its own way, it shows that there is really no problem. Has never been.
Wow.
So that's why I like it. The rest are also prototypes that exist. I think everybody, and that's the reaction I've been getting a lot. When people read the stories, they identify with them. A lot of people say, yeah, we know people who've done that, or we know people like that. So. And
any plans of having a sequel?
I'm working on something, yes. Okay. I'm hoping to put together a novel this time rather than short stories. So, this has encouraged me to go further. And to me, it's I am under no pressure, because this, in your life, you go to work and then you go home and everything is responsibility. So this is where you
zone out.
This is exactly. This is where I zone out. So when it happens, it will happen. I hope it happens. And I have an interesting novel that I'm working on. It's a nice concept, and hopefully it will work.
Related to Egyptian?
It's very Egyptian.
It is very
Everything I'm going to write is going to be very Egyptian, because I am very Egyptian at the end.
Well, Hisham, I just want to thank you very much for joining us on Bookworm today, and it was a pleasure. And I wish you all the best with the upcoming sequel.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I was joined with Hisham Kheshen, the author of Very Egyptian Tales, and we are looking forward indeed to his upcoming stories and novels. And we wish him all the best. Until next time, thank you very much for joining us.